movies, and then completely generated movies where you're just sitting down and you're like, it's like a meditative process, but you're just watching a movie based on what's in your mind. I think that's like the range of experiences that we can expect. And then of course, they're going to be the ones that no one knows what they're going to look like, and they're just going to pop out like, whoa. So I have a quick question for y'all.
And I like how you mentioned that, because I've heard that literally from every single creative I've either watched, that same question to, or whatever. It's like any single time you just throw something to the wind, a trash project that you think is just horrible, somehow it blows up, somehow it goes viral, or somehow you've got a lot of traction, and everybody asks you how you did it, and you're like, bro, I literally 30 seconds maybe, if that.
Really?
Okay. No, I love that. And you've definitely helped me a lot with my mid-journey and trying to, get involved in like the travel and hospitality spaces and talking about that. But speaking about what generative AI can do for humanity, I know you touched on that a little bit earlier. Where are the applications today in terms of experiences that you've seen kind of for, everyday humans be improved in those different ways through the language learning models and or otherwise? LLMs is just what we were talking about. But I see a lot of jobs now coming up, around. Do you think that those are a good idea? Do you think that they're going to get rid of jobs for people? Tell us about what is going to happen to the human culture as a result of
Absolutely. This is a huge thing, and I can only speculate, right? So like zooming out a little bit, the Wealth Summit in Baltimore happened like last month, I want to say, and I was a speaker there, and it was an incredible experience. I was speaking about AI and what life might look like beyond just automation, but like in a world where, we have AGI or, agents, and AGI refers to artificial general intelligence. There's not really one definition of that. Like if you ask 5 experts, you might get 5 different answers, but it's along the lines of AI just being smarter than the average human. Like, what would life look like at that point? And so the way I started my panel there was like highlighting that AI will probably like eliminate or replace certain jobs, but it's not just gonna eliminate the workforce in its entirety, nor is it a magic bullet that's gonna allow you to do every single thing. There's balance with it. And so I think that there will be jobs that are like phased out, but I also think that jobs will be created as a result. And that's on more of the professional end, but like on the personal end of how can people benefit from AI and what do some of these use cases look like? Really a lot of things you can imagine, whether it's meal prep, it could be stuff as simple as that, meal prep, developing.
What's important to you? I know you talk about like, experiences in entertainment a lot, but like what fascinates you in terms of your actual use cases in AI for your household and what you do every day? How would it be helpful to you, and what do you see?
It's kind of like having a personal assistant that could do a lot of things. So I personally use it for planning, refining my thoughts. I use it sometimes to like write stories, but not stories that I'm delivering to the world. Like I want a sci-fi novel based on this, but it doesn't quite exist yet. Write me this story, and like, just experiencing new things like that. One of my favorite use cases though is using AI as a simulation. So like if I'm going into a job interview or if I'm going into a presentation, I have AI, I'll tell it to assume whatever personality I'm speaking to. So if it's a label, I'll be like, okay, you're now the CEO of this label. Like ask me the difficult questions. You're investing X amount of money in this, like be tough. And it's kind of like running drills at that point. So I find that in those processes, I give it what I've prepared, and then it just shows me a whole range of things that I might not have been thinking about. And by the time the actual call happens, now my presentation is that much stronger. Another way I use it is the voice mode. So I don't have the advanced ChatGPT voice mode yet, but it still has like the basic voice mode. And I'll just use that to form more coherent thoughts out of like a loose stream of consciousness. So I could be in the car like, I want to make this a LinkedIn caption, but I don't want it to sound LinkedIn caption-y. And I also don't want it to sound like a random string of words. Help me refine this. And then the last main use case, is custom GPTs. I love custom GPTs because they do whatever you tell them to do. So it could be something as specific as, I want you to operate as like an advertiser and help me develop concepts. Or it could be something like, I want you to be my personal assistant, craft my schedules, prep me for meetings, and just like a whole set of things. And then there's obviously the fun stuff of like creating random visuals, and I'll generate one image on Midjourney, and then I'll make a whole story out of that I'll then put into Runway, animate, and then edit in Premiere Pro. And it's a lot of cool stuff. I get to experiment with the ideas I have, present them to the world at a high level, and get clients based off of that.
That's fire.
No, thank you for explaining that as well. I think that those use cases, a lot of people could use them. I think that you just dropped a whole bunch of gems for our student and professional audience, as well as any CEOs or executives that are out there. Yemi knows what he's talking about. Please get with him if you need the help, regardless.
I'm always down to talk about AI stuff. And like the use case that always blows people's mind is the simulation thing, where it's like, it can assume whatever personality you tell it. And I know Michael touched on that a bit earlier. Like you're an expert in this domain, and people will frame it like that, but they'll still get answers from it in like a very formulaic way, not in a human way, not in a way where they're having a dynamic interaction. So I like to use that when I show people that. It blows their minds because they're like, whoa.
So you're actually having full-blown conversations, type shit. Okay. No, cool. And I guess let me touch on, for generative AI, when you are using it as a personal assistant, is there any causes for concern here? I know a lot of people are scared about, like, if I give my computer too much information about me, somebody can hack it or something. Are any precautions you're taking with that? Or are you just fully like embracing the thought of, hey, what's going on? What are you doing?
There's concern. The way I mitigate against the concern is by not giving it anything sensitive. Even when it comes to like companies I work, I don't really tell it too much about companies I work with. If I need to, I will, but like a lot of the time I'll just have it research the domain and research key players, and sometimes the company I'm working with will come up. But when it comes to like my personal assistant stuff, like I'll give it a vague overview. Here are the things I have to do today, just craft a schedule around that. Or here's who I'm meeting with, here's information I have on them, craft me a briefing that's going to prep me for the meeting. But even in those cases, I always like swap names out. I never use real names for people. I always use code names. And I always just like try to avoid using sensitive information or data. I try to just go with whatever's publicly available on something. And then another thing that I don't do is like, I don't use images of myself in like Midjourney or anything. I don't think that's as much of a security concern because I have an Instagram and a LinkedIn and like social profile. So someone could do it. I don't think it's as much of a security concern as like, it just feels weird. Like, I don't know.
I got you.
I feel like, just to comment on that, something I say often is like, when you think of AI and, the one thing I'm sure you hear, Yemi, is like, iRobot is going to take over the world. There's a saying that, people were created in the eyes of God. Like man was created in the eye of God. I think AI is created in the eye of man. So just like you said, if you give, a person a deadly weapon, you're giving them the option to use it. And AI is built based on, the creators of ChatGPT are people who understand, things like don't touch this thing because it's too hot. Don't use this thing because it could be a weapon as well. So, how we, even from a software side, how we give the PII, social security numbers, anything that can be drawn back towards the person, you never know, what kind of training model set that it could exist in.
Exactly. And that brings up another concern, not necessarily with the AI programs themselves, but the people programming them. So I watched Peter Thiel on Rogan last week. And one thing he said was like, I'm gonna misquote him, so I'm not gonna quote him, but he alluded to like AI giving God competition. And that scares me, not because I think that's possible, because I don't think it's possible, but the fact that people are thinking like that is a little bit concerning because, it's like, what can of worms are you trying to open? Like, is this Pandora's box for real? And so if people think that AI is going to be that powerful and they are either the people that are making these programs or have access to these people, that's a little bit concerning. And then one last concern is in the military and defense context. I love listening to live streams from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, and they'll bring a lot of like defense professionals on there. And one thing they were talking about was using AI in nuclear weapon systems. And that's like terrifying, because the way I look at it is the systems we have, and I'm an outsider, so I can't speak too much to it, but just from my perspective, the systems we have now would work. Like, you wouldn't need AI to launch those, because chances are, if nukes are being launched, you know, that concept of mutually assured destruction, like, you don't need AI making that decision. A human can make that decision perfectly fine based on the detection mechanisms and what's already in place. But of course, with agencies like DARPA and, you know, things like that, we always want to stay ahead, and we never want to be technologically surprised. So I can understand the need for innovation, but it's also concerning, because my computer has gone wrong on me sometimes, like, and that's just like at a low level with very little impact. What happens if at that level something happens? And what happens if the AI gets to a point where it's operating outside of its training data? I don't know, and I don't find out.
Military-industrial complex is very complicated when it comes to AI, and plenty of those use cases and what we have access to, what we don't have access to, what we know, what we don't know. I'm sure they've already tried this already. I'm sure plenty of projects have gone wrong already. In fact,
they're probably 15 years ahead of this, you know?
Yeah, and frankly, if it's going to be anything like Smart House, or I was watching something on Bloomberg the other day where they brought on 3 Black women that were at the forefront of AI, talking about how, you know, there is no diversity in that group that is currently developing, you know, AI at its highest level, and those training models you're talking about. So it's even more scary and concerning when I'm looking at like AI stocks to invest in, for example, and seeing like what's going on actually out here and what's actually public versus what's not public. And it's, you know, I'm like, bro, like even you just talking about how the nuke situation, and I was just listening to a podcast the other day where they were talking about how Stratcom is already like, if any country sends off one nuke, we're sending off multiple. It's not going to be a situation of one for one, tit for that. No, it's going to be, you send off one, you're going to make sure you can never do it again, right? So like the thought of doing it counts in that case, right? So it's like, and think of it, but no, seriously, like think about it. Like if the people are already thinking about this and we're training the AI, right, in our image as we've kind of described, if you will, man being God of some sort or creator of some sort, the next powerful, I guess, phase that we're walking into and the age that we're walking into is the information age, right? At the end of the information age, AI, in all intents and purposes, will have all the information it needs to make itself be what it needs to be for us and itself, right? So in whatever way, shape, or form that may come in. And as a result, we now need to adapt to that. Where do you see us in the future having to adapt to, you know, the use cases of AI that may come of information that we may not foresee it being able to connect, because we don't have access to all of that at the time. Like our brains only operate in our silos, right? So where do you see us having to deal with that?
A very interesting question. And it's something I don't know if I have the answer to that. Like, because it's almost like, you know, when I think about that, I'm also thinking about the possibility of, is it even possible for AI to become conscious? And, you know, I was speaking very briefly at the Wealth Summit with Rashad from Earn Your Leisure, and he thinks that AI will become conscious at a certain point. And I kind of disagreed with that, but he brought up good points, and he was like, he broke it down for me a little bit. And I'm like, I don't see that happening. I see if AI meets quantum in a certain way, then that's the closest I think we get to AI being conscious. But right now, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I do think that I think we will get to a point where AI is able to put together connections that we can't. And I think that's going to make for a very interesting human AI dynamic. But ultimately, I think to more specifically answer your question, I'm pretty optimistic about it. So I think we're actually going to rediscover or hone in on what it means to be human at our core. And I think we'll become more creative as a result, honestly, because one thing you can't teach, like you can't teach AI the feeling of being broke, or you can't teach AI the feeling of getting curved, or you can't teach AI the feeling of not having the newest J's so you get clowned. Like, maybe it can read back on these experiences, but there are idiosyncrasies to the human experience that I don't think you can teach it. So I don't think we have much to worry about. I just think it's going to be a very interesting dynamic in like what the human AI coexistence looks like, especially when they get into physical bodies, like, you know, some of the robots that they're building now.
Yeah, Neuralink is.
Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
I know you're good, and it's not. I was just posing it to see your thoughts on it, right? Like, I think that this is all speculative. Where I'm at right now, I was mentioning earlier, Neuralink, Elon Musk's other company that is currently doing the AI chips. They have human trials now, so part of it is me paying attention to what's going on over there, the progress that they're making, because it's already been researched, but he's doing it on a massive scale. So for me, the implementation of AI, commingling it with our being and essence, and then I don't know if you guys have watched the 100 on the CW, but if you ever get a chance to, there's a part of it where I'm not trying to spoil it, but they integrate AI with humans. At some point, your consciousness is able to be downloaded, right? Me thinking about that, thinking about the use cases, thinking about, okay, well, they were in a post-apocalyptic world where, nuclear war happened due to AI, right? We're talking about that. We're imagining what's the possibilities here. I'm looking at a futuristic possibility of this happening, and I'm thinking, well, how do I protect against this? Knowing that there are plenty of different future possibilities of where we could end up. Should I even worry about that, right? Like, to your point, creativity is never going to be something that what it feels like to actually paint a piece and be accomplished, your hard work, being vested in whatever it may be, painted or otherwise, more video. So for me, I think that, when we look at AI, right, we're talking about, further progressing the conversation to entertainment and what art looks like and, your different mediums there. Where do you see art elevating experiences moving forward, right? How do you see it amplifying our sports, our gaming, our music, our photography events? What does that look like virtually and in real life?
Absolutely. So I think the transformation will happen in tiers and stages, with the later stages looking like an added layer on top of reality that allows us to interact with concerts and events and, sports in a different way. And we could get to that in a little bit. But right now, I look at AI transforming art, entertainment, gaming, all of that on conceptual level. I think ideation at a high level has never been this quick. So take concerts, for example. That's like one of my favorite experiences. I love concerts. And what I do and like what I've been experimenting with is using AI to generate mood boards for the whole experience around the concert. Not just the concert itself, but like, okay, what does merch look like? What does the stage look like? What do the screen visuals look like? What does the recap video look like? Because now you can blueprint it before you even shoot it. And so right now, I think it just accelerates creative processes and it gives you more control over the experience you're delivering. And even with LLMs, and I'm not the biggest expert on this component of it, but even using LLMs to solve some engineering problems, with different stage lighting components and, just letting it evolve the idea of what's possible. And with sports, I think using AI to, the premise of Moneyball, like using AI to go through like player statistics and information to make better decisions. And that brings us to like, kind of like, I imagine a Palantir, but for sports, where you get real-time data and, the system itself is able to recommend decisions to make based on that. So if I'm the sixth man, but I'm not cooking like a sixth man is supposed to, the AI might tell coach to sit me out or something like that, On the consumer end, that might look like, and we have companies like this. So ShopSense AI, currently they're a company that creates shoppable experiences. So you could be watching the PGA Tour or the Country Music Awards or, different shows, and literally like scan a QR code or interact with it and shop based on what your favorite characters or favorite artists are wearing. And just broader in entertainment, I think, ideation I think is the big thing in this current iteration. But as it gets better, I definitely think we're eventually going to have like full virtual concerts and full on just like generated experiences. So I imagine playing like a GTA or playing a Skyrim where they code it in a certain way that no two players are the same. Like no two players experience the same thing. And even with the AI within video games, NPCs, embedding LLMs or some form of AI into them, your worlds interact differently, where again, we could have the same GTA 6 or 7 or whatever and access the same NPCs and they do completely different things or give us different missions based on our play styles. I think all that is interesting to think about. And then movies. Imagine, I don't know if it would be with Neuralink or with something similar, but imagine movie is responding to what's in your mind or, like your brain frequencies or something. So it's like you're watching a movie and it could tell that you're too scared or something, so it gives you a different experience. Or it could tell that you're at the edge of your seat, so now it recommends more movies. And then completely generated movies where you're just sitting down and you're like, it's like a meditative process, but you're just watching a movie based on what's in your mind. I think that's like the range of experiences that we can expect. And then of course they're going to be the ones that no one knows what they're going to look like, and they're just going to pop out like, whoa. So I have a quick question for y'all.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before we move further, how do y'all think we protect and just like get ourselves ready for AI at like a high scale? Because I struggle with this. Because that's like asking someone, how do you protect yourself against a nuke during the Manhattan Project? The government, I don't know how to. Even if I am the government, I don't know how to. So like, how do y'all, if AI gets to like, this level of ubiquity where it's everywhere and it can act for itself and by itself, how do y'all think we even begin to prep against that?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of trial and error. I mean, we saw, deep fakes, people using the voices of family members to call other family members, for, what a type of cyber crimes. The more that people at large can be aware of these kind of cyber attacks, the better we can be prepared for what's next. I mean, we even saw with the Social Security number hack, no AI was involved there. It was a real person who had the technical skills to be able to tap into that larger database. I was going to mention this too, but even as we see the new iPhones come out, they're really going to integrate these iPhones with AI at a level we've never seen before. So when we think of creativity and when we think of unique senses of style, imagine if just like when someone, 5 years ago got someone's iCloud password so that they could see all their photos, to the extent where an AI could start to map where you've been recently, mixed with who you're texting, mixed with the videos and pictures that you take to create some form of consciousness, almost like a clone of who you are, and be able to communicate with others based on that. I think those use cases are becoming more real by the day. So the more that we have these honest conversations on, I just used a taxi, a Lyft that didn't have a driver in it, but I knew to do this when I noticed it was taking a wrong turn. The best thing we can do as a community at large, bottom up, is to get educated about the different use cases and avenues AI can take us.
Nah, that's facts. That's facts. Alaire, what you think?
Yeah, and to follow that up, I've actually done I'm big into sci-fi, so just like I was mentioning or alluding to earlier, I've definitely thought about this topic a lot. My main thing that I've been doing right now is downloading as much information as I can. We're in a unique area of time and space and time where, I don't know if you noticed, but like on Instagram and like on Twitter or X, on X, if you pay for the pro version, you can download videos and in long form content or post long form content. But on Instagram, depending on if the creator allows you to download the video, if the option is there, when you go to hit that share, the little paper airplane button, you can sometimes scroll and see download. I've always, if not at any time, if I've seen a good piece of information, whether it be personal finance oriented, AI, or just general, it's things that I'm interested in, right? I will save it to my folders, and then I'll also see if I can download it. I have, thanks to my university, we have a plethora of data backed up on Google Drive that I can use. So what I'm trying to do is take my phone, data dump it onto my phone, and then move that into Google Photos, video, keep it there, right? I'm big into saying that like one way to AI proof yourself is to get as much information as possible. So that way, in the event that AI does take over, and let's say you don't have access to technology, but you still may have access to your technology and the information that you gathered, that's what's going to best help inform your movements going forward. Because any other information that you don't gather, that you don't understand, that you may not know if it's been tampered with, at the point where, again, AI is in control of everything, we need to make sure that the information that you have, you can trust with 100% certainty, or at least to the point where you can make decisions off of that. Because right now, again, entrepreneurs and everybody who works in the area of gray space, or gray area, if you will, we are comfortable with the uncomfortable of trying to figure things out with limited amounts of information in order to make the things that we want to make happen, right? And that's where we are. We're in the spot of, messing around and figuring it out. And using the clean version right now because views. We need to, I think, again, make it a point to gather as much information as possible. So that way, if you are technically savvy, which I'm not right now, I'm trying to get to a point where I am, but I see the use case for having your own AI to protect you from other AI, right?
Okay.
And this is, again, me thinking in the military industrial complex mindset, coming from being a government contractor in an early age, working for, federal government spaces and intelligence, and thinking about like, well, if these are all the different ways that our information is exposed, our social security numbers just got exposed, what can I do to protect myself? Well, if there was some way for me to make sure I have firewalls around my personal information and all the information and stuff that I do on a daily basis, including my businesses, my lifestyle, my movements, and all of that, and there's no backdoor for anyone to get in, then I would be good. But if I find out how to do that, right, or if there's a company that's able to do that, right, I don't know if you've seen what's been going on with Telegram and the fact that their encrypted systems have made now the CIA and all these other government organizations collude together to arrest the CEO because after trying to get a backdoor through hiring a potential employee as a double agent. Like, thinking about that is very scary because when you create systems that even the government can hack, now your life is at risk as a result. Now, potentially, I'm not saying that they're out to kill him or whatever, but it's an option, right? We've seen how every government moves when there's things outside of their control. So Bitcoin, for example, everybody was afraid of Bitcoin when Bitcoin first came out. Nobody knows who, the founder of Bitcoin actually is, right? But like, think about the use cases of Bitcoin and how much it's worth now and what the value people are placing in that. Imagine what the value could be in something that, again, collects information that's truthful for you, validates that information, and then helps protect you from what you don't know or what may be coming your way as a result and helping you best inform your decisions. I think that's how I've been trying to, again, do that through downloading all the information that I see, reading up on all these things, paying attention to international relations and what's going on in different countries and economic systems, currency, and all of that, because again, all of these things are interrelated. To your point earlier about like talking about how you can take from different environments, different industries, what happens, experiences, and apply them in an environment that could be completely separate, but still make you what you need to make at the end of the day. Like, that's where I'm at, bro.
Y'all both bring up ways of thinking that I haven't even thought of. So Michael, when you mentioned the phone and how the new generations of iPhones will have Apple AI embedded into them, I wasn't I've never thought about this, but in that moment I realized that, okay, right now with current LLMs or models, you prompt them. With the iPhone, it's already gathering the data, so it knows where you're going. It's doing all of this in the background. That I haven't thought about that, so that brings up some new ways of thinking, but also, as both of y'all alluded to, information and getting people informed. That's such an important thing, and that's one of my main missions with what I do. Like right now, it's geared towards use cases and for business value. But I think on a personal level, it's so important because I can't tell you the amount of times I'll get questions or someone will send me a Twitter link where it's like a public figure committing a crime or doing something that they clearly didn't do. And people are like, oh my gosh, people could use these things to frame you and blah, blah, blah. And realistically, they can't because metadata and things like that exist. So it's for example, if there's a fake CCTV image or video of me robbing a gas station, I'm pretty sure I could pull up my phone, recent locations, here's where I was at on this day. Or if I took a picture of my dog on that day, that metadata is in there. It shows that I was here at this time. You just there are layers to things. You're not just going to be able to pull up to a courthouse or a law enforcement agency look, picture, criminal. The other way that people think of that is well, if the government wants to frame you now, they can use AI and things like that to get you out of here.
Rewrite reality.
But I also don't think it's a problem because if they want to frame you, you're probably done anyway. About it. So I think AI in that regard still would be an accelerant, but it doesn't it's not bringing capabilities that didn't previously exist in that regard. I think due process is still a thing. Information is still a thing. So y'all bring up super important points of just staying informed and trying to back up in a sense as much as you can and make sure that there's data and information with integrity that hasn't been tampered with. Very, very important.
For sure. And just being able to validate information. I think that even if you know it's been tampered with, being able to track the metadata, like you said, like to the point where you're able to find out if it's been scraped or messed with, right? Like to your point, if you took a picture of your dog on this day, but metadata, evil AI decides to rewrite that and says you weren't even there, you know what I mean? Like, or erases the photo entirely from your phone. So now when you go show the authorities, AI done rewrote it because you connected to a different, network or cell tower, all these different things. It's kind of crazy to think about, right?
Yeah, that's scary.
But not to scare everyone, AI is great. It's coming. We just got to embrace it. We're just talking about all the different possibilities.
Yeah.
So it's better to be informed than to be just caught lacking with your pants down. So I'd rather have you guys have the information that you need to make decisions that you need to make. If you're in the positions to make them, if you're not, get read up, get as much information as you can before, crap hits the fan. And Michael, do you have anything else?
Yeah. I mean, just like I mentioned, people are made in the eyes of God, guys created in the eyes of man or people. So just be cognizant of how you interact with the data, knowing that by you building a relationship with another person, that can lead you to higher heights. I'm going to meet, again, CEO. So I'm going to train this AI to act like that CEO to improve my relationship or improve my engagement with that person. At the same time, I'm not going to use AI to mention the exact person, the exact name, because you never know how a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line that might come up again. So use AI intelligently. And Yemi, you have been one of the most inspiring people that use AI to create digital experiences as well as real life conversations, talks, and overall just information sharing that has people inspired. So I really appreciate you being on the show.
Appreciate y'all for having me.
Yeah. And then I do want to leave with one last thought. I did hear the other day on one of the other podcasts that I just happened to be watching that GTA, the next version of it, the virtual world, will eventually be the place where a lot of virtual business gets done in the next 5 to 15 years. On that platform, for whatever reason, based on the users, the cult of users that still play all of the GTA games to this day, the ones that servers that haven't been shut down, but thinking about the further use cases of what virtual experiences could be with generative AI and business, knowing that we're entrepreneurs and finding and talking to people from different backgrounds, how do you see, and you mentioning Yemi a little bit earlier about how you interacting with your specific virtual world could help potentially change, if your world is reacting based on what you do, right? Yeah. Similar to decisions like, I think Netflix and Black Mirror had those decision videos, like the TV shows. Yeah, the Interact joints, they did that for a while. So I'm just imagining that. But in the same sense, how do you feel about that description of GTA potentially being the next place where a lot of business actually gets done in the future, or games like it? How would it?
First of all, send me that podcast. That's really interesting. And I had never thought about that, but looking at what GTA 5 Online has done, I mean, they completely abandoned single player development and DLC to prioritize online. Looking at the microtransactions, I could see a world where that is possible, but then you think about the end result, what would I actually get from where's the real world impact of these businesses?
I'll tell you real quick. They were talking about how the use cases of crypto, actual virtual currency, linking that to your bank account, and that actually being real, because that is actually possible. Because think about it this way, we're purchasing in-game purchases all the time, right? Yeah. Whether it be for DLCs, skins, etc. So imagine some dude walks in the game, he sees my little skin, I got it for a little nice clip, and he wants to buy it off me or something. Well, GTA, you might be able to strip it off him, so it's a little different. But, if that's your gameplay, then that might be the thing. But if you could have decisions, right? You want to offer them for their shirt or whatever. Imagine buying that off of somebody and actually getting it in real life and being able to be like, hey, do you want a portion of this in real currency or digital currency? Because it could be that,
Yeah, I heard that was actually a thing with Roblox, where they made a fake Supreme store, and my sister's partner was telling me this. He said, because he used to work at Supreme. So they would have a whole Roblox, he had to infiltrate Roblox, bro. They had a whole operation going on where people had a fake store going on in Roblox. And then I think you paid with crypto or something and you received a real product in real life. It was a fake product, but you still received it. So I don't know whether they were paying with Roblox currency or actually using crypto and routing it to a wallet. But I mean, with that, if you frame it like that, I completely see that being possible. And then just a last thought is like, if you combine that with I don't want to say VR, I kind of like what Apple is doing with Vision Pro, how they consider it spatial computing. I think if you combine those capabilities with an engine as deep and as complex as whatever Rockstar is cooking up, I could viably see a world in which you're incentivized to spend real money or like connect the real world to the digital in that way. And another random thought is I also think it would be cool seeing how AI evolves, like using GTA as training data. Because with Runway particularly, and even Midjourney, on paper they're image or video AI models, but their strategic way of thinking about it is real world models. So if they're training on like these complex interactions and maps and dynamics and physics, I think ultimately we might very well live in a world where the real and the fake, the digital and the physical are more seamless than ever. But send me that podcast.
I got you. Yeah, so I was in my rabbit hole scrolling, doom scrolling as usual. But appreciate you for your time. Yemi, that was a great way to close it out today. We are at time, so I definitely want to thank you for your knowledge.
We got to have you back.
Yes, we're going to have you back just to check in.
We need to do an in-person one.
Yeah, definitely. That will happen soon for sure. Definitely do a real live one. But Michael, do you have anything else for the audience? And Yemi, we'd love to just, if you have anything that you want to send us about, Vidir, some of your content work so we can show it to the audience throughout this. Love to get it. Any of the videos that you put up. Again, want to showcase the work that you got, bro. So let us know. Michael, please go ahead. Take it away.
Yeah. Yemi, how can people get in touch with you?
For sure. On Instagram is the best way at YMSKZY, Yemskeezy. Otherwise, LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is Yemi Faleti. And YouTube, Vidir. Sorry, YouTube. This is crazy. I have to look this up, which should not be the case.
You got it.
I mean, AI cinema, which that speaks to how much like it's a burner. So I was just so surprised when that video did what it is. Like, I don't even remember the name, but YouTube is Vidir AI Cinema, Videre, and that's where to find me. Yeah, appreciate y'all again. This was super fun.
Yeah, anytime, bro.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Peace out, fam.
All right, peace out, y'all. Have a great day.
Yeah.